Good evening and welcome to Main Street Sports. Ray Halbrook here from live stream STL. Hope everybody's having a great evening, and we're going to have a great show here. Some new faces and new things to talk about here. I've got Scott Lotta. Mr. Scott, how are you, my friend? How's it going?
It's a beautiful, chilly, icy night.
It is. And we've got, we're here in the warmth of La Pachanga in Herculaneum.
And anybody watching out there hopefully is in the warmth of wherever they reside.
That's correct.
The music just stopped.
I know.
There's
that
no
was
snare.
That was such an anticlimactic thing there. Right. That was weird. How did that happen?
I was trying to do an Eminem. There's no snare in my headphone.
Who did that, right?
So, Ray, how are we going to kick this off?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about, the season that is Jeffco basketball right now, and just wanted to kind of wrap up. I know we're getting ready to go into the playoffs and whatnot, and we wanted to talk to some good friends, and I've got over here Coach Lee Richardson, and also, we went deep here to find an absolute professional, like deep.
Are we talking like in the rough?
Yeah, deep in the rough here.
Deep in the rough.
I like that.
Yeah.
Brian Waits is with us as well to help us, just kind of talk a little bit about the state of where things are with Jeffco basketball, and right before we roll in here to playoffs, and kind of where we think things are going to shake up. So there's no wrong answers with this as well. So Brian is thinking that's got to be really, really good for me right now, right?
I saw that smile get a little bit bigger.
I'm going to defer to Lee on most of it, so I'll say good answer, good answer.
Lee's going to be like, that was not wrong, but it is.
Let me modify that a little bit.
Everybody's got an opinion, and they're going to vary, but we're
Sure.
just share what we see and think at the moment, and hopefully people will correct us if they think we're wrong too.
Well, absolutely. Sure. And we're going to start real quick, and we'll go through these girls first, boys second. We'll start with the small schools first. We're going to go right into the girls' conference standings here for the girls. And right now we have Herculaneum at 3-0, St. Pius at 3-1, St. Vincent at 3-1, which they're matching up this Saturday. Jefferson at 1-2, Grandview at 1-4, and Crystal City 0-3. And just a few of our standouts, and I will throw out the names here real quick as I pull it up that are our leaders right now. And let me find that because somewhere I've lost it. Yeah, right. Hello. Where did it go? That is so weird. I'm on the wrong phone. That's the reason why.
Well, you only have like 11
got 10,000 phones here. So here it is. We'll go right back here, and I will have that for everybody as we roll in here. I have, for the small school girls, we have A.J. Eggers leading the way with 16.3 points on the season. Paige Fowler, 14.9 points on the season. Annabelle Wakeland from Grandview, 13.2 points on the season. Annie Waits, 12.6 points on the season from Crystal City. Lainey Smith, 12.5 points on the season from Jefferson. And St. Vincent, we do not have stats for at this point. So talk a little bit about that. Brian Waits has broken the number one rule. He's got to turn the volume down on his phone because I hear it. So
I just want to see your face. Right there.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's great.
Is there an echo in here? Here?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I get every time, so that's hilarious.
I'm a rookie right now.
That's okay. It is what it is. And, start with Scott here. Scott's seen quite a few of these, and just kind of give you your overall opinion of JCAA small school girls.
Well, some of these players that we talked about with these associated schools, like A.J. Eggers, I've seen her multi-sports. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Paige Fowler from a couple of years to now. Up-and-coming Annabelle Wakeland for Grandview. And I'm not just being a homer because I went to Grandview, but that girl is only going to get better and better. But and obviously, let's just say Annie no
Sure.
last name. She's she's definitely a very a gritty, hustle oriented teammate, and it's great to see her name on this list. Lainey Smith, that young lady is very talented, well rounded. Unfortunately, I don't have anything for St. Vincent's because I haven't seen them.
Sure.
But I mean, everyone on this list that you mentioned, I think is outstanding. Coach, anything that jumps out at you on this list?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Herculaneum play St. Vincent, and that'll, of course, have something to do with the conference race there too. But we saw St. Vincent girls a couple of weeks ago, and they lost to Perryville. It was a pretty good girls team, and they just kind of have balanced scoring, no real standouts. They're well coached by Mel Kern, and so I'm looking forward to watching that matchup. But going kind of back to what you were saying, I think all the ones you talked about are either probably going to be first teamers or at least in contention for that. And it'll be interesting to see what the coaches decide in terms of player of the year on the small girls side. And I think probably Agers and Fowler will battle that out. Now, Paige Fowler, was she player of the year last year?
I believe she was,
On the
yes.
small
Maybe
size?
the last 2 years.
Yeah, okay. So she's probably the favorite going into that, but really good players. And I'll say it just so Brian doesn't have to. Annie Waits has had a really good senior season as well. So
Yeah,
there's
we
my
just
thoughts.
played St. Vincent last week, I believe, and they're well-rounded. I mean, they got their guards are good. They're very well coached, and pretty much they could intermingle several different players in different positions, and it was hard to just guard one. So they run the same similar offense of picking and rolling down through the middle of the lane, and was tough to defend. So I don't think it'll be a pushover for Herky.
No,
They're going to have
not
to play
at
a good game, stay out of foul trouble, because once they set that double pick and come down the lane, Paige is in the middle, Weesey's in the middle. They get into foul trouble, then it'll be a little tough on them.
Who's number 20?
Macy Pilliard?
Pilliard,
yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully she's all right after that spill
Yeah,
she took the other night.
she's dealing with an injury right now.
Okay. But I think you talked about Herky. Obviously, they're in this conversation. But we did see, who was it, Pius, that kind of shut them down a little bit. Kind of they clamped down on Paige Fowler and kind of made some other people beat them.
Yeah.
And in the end, they weren't able to. So we'll see if maybe that becomes the Mahomes plan, if you will.
Yeah, I like that.
Pius got the Capanella. I'm probably not pronouncing it
Capozzo.
right. Capozzo.
Yep.
She was phenomenal. She's
Yep.
fast. I mean, you've got to watch her coming from the backside and stealing balls away. So, and then you got Eggers there, of course. But she was a difference maker, I think. She's like the unknown factor of what's going to happen, how many balls she's going to steal and disrupt
And
the
I
offense.
think when we were watching her, I think I kind of made the parallel to Sunny Amabile for the Windsor boys. I was like, she's that kind of player where it's like you said, you always have to have tabs, eyes in the back of your head. Where is she?
Yeah, sure.
Just a couple more things on the small side. You mentioned Miss Wakeland from Grandview, and just a sophomore, and really impressive as a sophomore. And she's got a great career ahead of her, and probably I would say a first-team selection in my opinion anyway. And then we have throughout the records, we got a big rivalry game on Friday night, Crystal City and Herculaneum, and we'll get to
Look
see.
at the smile on the coach. He's like,
No,
"We got
it's
a good-"
fun. It's fun.
Man, if only we could be there.
If only.
But
yeah.
we are going to be there.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Right.
So that's it doesn't really matter anytime those two get together, and so see the girls and the boys game.
It's my
this
alma
Friday.
mater, so
Yeah.
my alma mater, and my daughter's playing against them, so it's tough for me, but it's always fun.
Yeah, and pretty much what you said. I mean, in any of these rivalry games, you can kind of throw the records out the window. We've seen that as, some of the coaches from the coaches box matchup. It's like one team you would think, okay, on paper, this is going to be a blowout, and then what happens? They flip the script. So you just never know. Sometimes coaching comes into play. Sometimes a player will have a game just out of nowhere. So that's the great thing about us getting to cover them, and we get to sit there and kind of cheer them on both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Annie missed that game against Herky last year, which was kind of disappointing. She rolled her ankle in the Pius
right.
game, so missed 3 games right before district, so she didn't get to play them. So it'd be fun.
You bet.
Awesome. Let's move on to, real quick, for me, just went to the wrong place. For me, maybe let's taking a look at who do we think is going to come out of the conference, obviously, and maybe to even take a look at the district scene, because some of the districts seedings came out today for Crystal City girls. they're going to be the number 2 seed in an interesting district. Same thing for the boys.
Class 2, District 4.
And so you guys' thoughts, I mean, the districts are going to be a little different this year, obviously. You're taking a look at some tougher districts for some not so much. But maybe your thoughts, and I'll start with Coach Richardson because I know he's been keeping up with these districts. He gives me a call today saying, hey, district start already. Let's go. Let's get on this, So I love it.
Yeah, coaches always look forward to that, getting to that district seed. And it doesn't matter if you've had a really good season or bad or anything in between. It's a fresh start. Everybody's got a 0-0 record, and you get to, just tell your guys, hey, here we go. Win or go home time, and that can be motivating. The Crystal City girls get the 2 seed, and I think that's appropriate in their district. Viburnum, who they lost to earlier in the year, gets the 1. But it looks like, and again, it's easy now. I can sit over here and kind of project winners and losers. When you're a coach, you got to be more PC than that. But I think Crystal City girls will get to that championship game. Now, if Viburnum's there, as they probably should be, now you're traveling down windy Highway 32 to get there instead of that neutral site. So that's going to be an interesting thing as far as their district goes. And we'll talk the C2, D4 boys district later on. But that was one of the very few districts that kind of in our area that have come out so far. But I think that one was about right. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You look at the records and the teams, and in this COVID year, if you want to call it that, it's kind of tough because you don't have the number of games. So a lot of these teams have played the same team over and over again, it seems like 2 or 3 times. But Viburnum definitely is the cream of the crop in the district. They've earned it. But if I know Coach Jones, like I know Coach Jones, he's going to have a game plan.
He'll adjust.
We lost to him by 28. It probably should have been more like 10. But the young team will learn from it and coach adjust, and I think we'll give them a pretty good run. But I'm not looking past the semifinal game because people do that and they tend to lose. So let's go take care of business, get to the final, and we'll go from there. But, they've got Viburnum's got a really good senior guard. And she knows the game and is very basketball smart, and she put it to us. So
yeah, Coach Jones has been around the block a few times.
Yep.
We saw last year in districts. I'd only won a few games going to district with that really, really young team he had last year. Made a lot of really good adjustments, and they won it. So perfectly capable of doing that again this year.
It's good. We'll save some muscle memories there. Like you said, with the COVID year, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. And those are the only, district seedings that came out that affected us here today.
You didn't grease any palms? You didn't find
no,
anything? Okay.
No.
At press time, that was all we
They don't
had.
do that. Yeah, they won't let us do that. We wouldn't do that anyway. But as far as the conference is concerned, what are you guys' thoughts on? Obviously, I think Saturday is probably going to be determined between Herky and St. Vincent. We're actually trying to work on. Blair's trying to twist my arm a little bit to go down. And we'd love to come down, so I'm going to put out a shameless plug. If you want us to come down, we are looking for a couple of sponsors for that. So we would definitely go down. We are available. I haven't talked to my coaches or my announcers yet about doing anything, but Saturday, it's their game, I believe, is at 1 o'clock.
In Perryville?
It's in Perryville.
And now, you have some connections in Perryville.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we've been kind of trying to rattle those connections.
Mary Jane Burgers.
Mary Jane
I
Burgers
was about ready to
awesome.
say that.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yes.
So, what's your guys' thoughts on that particular game?
And like I said, in the COVID year, going on the road, anything can happen, but Coach Blair is excellent at coaching up his girls. Every once in a while they kind of have a clunker, but then they seem to bounce back, and we saw that the other night. They had a game where it was like this was not the same team, and then they came right back and they did the same thing they always do. They got to the free throw line, they rebounded, they made the shots when they had to.
Yeah. Coach?
Yeah, it's going to, it's Herky's to lose right now in terms of the coaching matchup. That was my first time seeing, as a coach, I kind of take interest in how they, operate. Mm-hmm. And Coach Kern at St. Vincent, his first year, and I'm sure he's got plenty of experience before this. I'm just not aware of it. But he did a great job in the adjustments he makes. So it'll be kind of a chess match. And the last thing is Pilliard healthy and will she play?
Right.
Yeah, that's the X factor.
And St. Vincent has some good post players that could, as Brian mentioned earlier, that may have something to do with the outcome.
Well, I mean, I've seen them both play, and my vote, and not because it's my alma mater, but for Coach Blair and the Herky team, I just think they have more weapons and they have more size. If their guards can handle the pressure then I think they're going to come out victorious. And that's the pressure that St. Vincent's going to put on them.
Yeah, and to that, the point guard for Herculaneum, remind me of that.
Lawson?
Yes, what a great game she had.
I was just thinking of that one.
Last time
about
out,
that.
looks like she's growing into that role.
Mm-hmm. She was kind of playing that Capozzo that you were talking about. It's like, where did she come from? She's there. And it was just really disruptive.
All right. And let's see, real quick, just out of curiosity, I mean, this is just, again, we'll just put the disclaimer out to all the listeners here. This is very off the cuff as far as our decisions, because we were kind of thinking about some ideas, just kind of shake things up. So I don't want to get a call from somebody saying, "Oh, how come you didn't talk about this particular person," or whatever. Thoughts on, I guess, player of the year in the girls division, guys.
Let's start with Brian.
Yeah, well, I mean, I gotta refer back to somebody that I think it's got to be taken away. Somebody that already has it, so somebody's gonna have to take it away from Paige. The numbers got to be way out there because she's, in their offense, they've kind of spread it around a little bit this year too. It's just not focused on her. And some of the girls out there that have bigger numbers, maybe. It's only because they're the focus of the offense. Yep. So she's tough. My vote would be for her.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And we've watched a few games here recently where she's been really deferring to her other teammates, and it's worked out really well in terms of the Deering girl, Maddie Deering.
Maddie.
Great game a couple games ago, and some of the other players. And, I agree with him. Defending champ, I don't think she's done anything necessarily to be knocked off that. And I wouldn't be mad if it was Eggers either.
Yep.
Sure.
Scott?
All right, not to be a dissenting voice, but no, I'm not going to. I'm going to say, I'm going to paraphrase Ric Flair. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And I haven't seen anything, no disrespect to anyone on this list or people on this list that we didn't even get to. But Eggers has had an outstanding year. Wakeland has had a great year.
Yep.
Waits, Laney Smith, all great contenders. But I think Paige is just a notch above.
Yep. My thoughts exactly. I really feel like this particular year, she came out of the chute really kind of flat. And then she had this big breakout game, 45 points. 45 points a game, broke the record.
Not too shabby.
And the way she did it, I think, is what impressed me the most. The way she did it wasn't one of those things where, man, dude, I'm just on fire. It was kind of like I had to really work for it.
It wasn't like they were feeding her.
She was not nailing threes.
She was getting rebounds, putting it back in.
Yeah, it was, and she was able to do it through, cutting to the basket, getting the rebounds, doing the little things, and that just doesn't happen unless you're pretty skilled.
Sure.
So, Paige Fowler for me as well. Let's move on here to the large school ladies here, and we'll throw up the standings here real quick. And again, Perryville is kind of an interesting situation here because we don't have a whole lot of stats on Perryville, but right now they're leading 5, and they're 5-2. Windsor 3-3, DeSoto 3-3, Festus 3-4, and Hillsborough 2-4. Now, my disclaimer on this: we don't have as much information because we have not been able to cover. We missed a handful of games already because of, especially like things like this week with it's either a COVID or a weather situation. But so we've been trying to get in there, and to give you my list again of leaders here for the girls' large school. Josie Allen from Festus has just been tearing it up, 15.1 points on the season. DeSoto, Cameron Peely, 11.5 on the season. Now we haven't covered DeSoto, the girls, at all, and I'm kind of, it's kind of a misnomer. It kind of stinks that we've missed out on that because you hear a lot about the Peely girl here. Windsor, Reagan Daly. We've always heard about Reagan Daly. Great three-point shooter in her sophomore season, averaging 11.3 points on the season. Kayla Van Horn, with the loss of Sophia Harrell, she jumps up and is their leading scorer, 9.3 points on the season. And we do not have stats from Perryville again. Like I said, not sure why they do that down there. Perryville and St. Vincent both, they're just kind of don't like to put those stats out, but. Overall thoughts. Like I said, I know it's based on limited knowledge on our part here, but guys, just take it away and let me know what you think.
I'm going to defer to the experts because I don't know a whole lot about the large schools. Seen a few of them.
And you've probably seen more than me, but we did do the Festus game the other night versus
Yep.
Hillsboro,
Yep.
and that was a really cool matchup. And Hillsboro came out of there with a big win for their young team. And Allen is obviously very impressive as a sophomore.
She had a heck of a game.
And unfortunately, I haven't seen some of the other ones. Perryville we did see, and Ray, if you'll recall, Schnurbush is a really good guard that they have, but they had a freshman, wasn't it? Brooklyn Mall
I believe that's right.
The freshman for them, who came off the bench and a JV player, but came in and remember that name in future years on that large side out of Perryville.
I got to give kudos to Hillsboro because just a couple years ago, they were just a few win team, and now they're competitive, even with the teams that have been around a long time, the Festus. So I've watched them on Facebook and on STL Live, just the parents commenting on what's happening with that program, and it's been rebuilt, I believe, in the last 3 years. I'm not very familiar about coaches and how long they've been there, but I know in 4 years ago it was in disarray a little bit.
Well, sitting behind their bench the other night, which, again, I have more of an interest on that side of things, and I thought Coach Hubbard, they only have 5 wins this year, and I'm going to tell you what, Coach Hubbard is doing a fantastic job with those girls and has a ton of talent returning in the next couple of years. So that they're going to be a team to watch starting next season.
They have a senior guard that's been there all 4 years, started as a freshman. I cannot remember her name. I'll think of it here in a little bit.
Zoe Wood.
Well, Zoe's been there. There's another guard, a point guard that they have that's been there that's a senior. I'll think of it before we get going too far.
He won't remember. He'll get in the car and be like, "That's what it was."
Well, she played softball one year for me, so I know.
He'll text us later.
But
Scott?
like I said, I don't have any exposure to the Perryville squad, unfortunately. Have seen a little bit of Windsor. Have not seen DeSoto. I don't think I've seen Festus either, but I do kind of have a little unfortunate bias towards Hillsboro through softball ties with Coach Hubbard. He's a great guy. He's a very amenable leader where he can basically sit there and tell you something, and he can kind of make it he can kind of translate it from what he's saying to what the player is going to understand. So I know he's a great educator in that method. So like I said, unfortunately, I'm going to kind of lean that way as far as I really like where that program is going. If you had to give me a toss-up, who's going to come out of this? I don't know. I'd probably say Perryville just because I haven't seen them based on the record.
Yeah, that was my next question. Who comes out of that conference as the winner?
So I'm going to say Perryville.
So Perryville is now 5-2. Is that right?
Their record is 4. Yeah, they're 5-2, so they're pretty much done.
They got one more.
They're doing the home at homes.
And Festus had a chance to
Festus had a chance, I believe,
stay with them,
to
but
jump up
lost
there.
that game.
Yeah,
the
that would have made them 4-3, I believe, and keep them in the hunt. But now they're 3-4. So it was a heck of a game too. It was a really close. Never really got out of hand. The Festus Hillsboro game. So I think right now Perryville is looking good right now. So
agreed.
All right. We're going to jump over to the large schools.
Do we need to break and say, you're watching Main Street Sports?
No, we're going to go. Let's just go ahead and keep going.
But I mean, you should throw that in there.
Well, I've got let me just put it this way. It's up there to this side. This side over here, it says Main Street Sports.
All right, but not everybody is an audible kind of deal. Some people, not everybody's visual. I'm saying some people are audible. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw a new visual up here right now of the conference standings for the boys. Can I do that?
Nice segue.
Let me do that.
I like that.
Like that? There it is. So the boys, this is the small schools, and St. Vincent wrapped things up, I believe, probably here. Even though they're 3-0 on the season, they beating St. Pius last week, I think, kind of wrapped things up. But right now they're 3-0. St. Pius 3-1. Jefferson 3-1. Now they could be a possible. I don't know if there's a possibility mathematically that they could jump up there and jump over Pius or not, but they actually play each other next Friday. Herculaneum 1-2, Crystal 1-3, Grandview 0-4. If you take a look just at the records, you've got the top three and bottom three pretty much already wrapped up. But it's been an interesting situation for those top three teams too, because Jefferson had a handful of kids come in late from football, so that you've got an adjustment with that. You've got St. Pius, who lost a lot of seniors, and they're still rocking and rolling being able to just stay steady, and they play a steady, good game. They don't have a superstar. They don't really have they don't have a Riley Nager anymore. They've got about 3 or 4 guys that come out and they're pumping up 10 points a pop. So you've got those guys, and then like I said again, it looks like St. Vincent's going to take this, but and then we'll talk about the kind of our leaders here. We'll talk a lot about this too. Small school leaders right now for Crystal City: Donovan Tullock, 21.2 points on the season. Grandview, Chase Wilson, 17.4 points on the season, but he's injured. St. Vincent, John Wibbenmeyer, heard a heck of a lot about that kid. 16.9 points on the season. Herculaneum, Dalen Fuller, 11.9 points on the season. Jefferson has Colby Ott at 11.6 points on the season. And there's a tie in St. Pius between Xander Parson and Nate Rubel. Both of them are averaging 10.3 points on the season. And we'll jump over here to you guys here to kind of give your thoughts here.
Well, I think at the top of the list, I thought we were talking about Donovan Tullock. I believe Coach Richardson is a big fan of Mr. Tullock.
Yeah.
Have heard nothing but great things about him, and just looking through the stats, that he's got 381 points on the season, 5th overall in the St. Louis area. I mean, not just in Jefferson County, in the St. Louis area.
Right.
So that right there tells volumes. It's like, especially when they know you're the scorer, they're going to adjust on you, and you're still finding ways to score. Mm-hmm. So great. Chase Wilson, unfortunately, you alluded to, done for the year. Unfortunate situation right there. He's got 279 points, 24th in the area. Yeah. Unfortunately, I said my alma mater, so that's very, a little despondent. But but he had a great season up to that point. So hopefully, he gets well, and obviously that's the main thing. Wibbenmeyer, have not got to see him in person, but I hear it's worth the price of admission.
Yep.
So missed him. Herky, Dallin Fuller has had a kind of an inconsistent year, on and off starting. Has some monster games, has some games where very quiet. Mm-hmm. But Colby Ott, I've heard nothing but rainbows and adulation for that
Dude's
kid.
Just a stud. Just is. I mean, he's very good at everything that he puts his hand to.
A good description is an athlete. He's going to be good at any sport besides
Jeffco, going to Jeffco to play baseball.
Sure.
I don't think I've got to see him this year, but I got to see him play last year.
Yeah.
And definitely I think he was actually in my conversation last year for MVP, even though people were like, who's on his team? I was like, I don't care who's on his team.
Right.
He's on his team.
Right. Like it.
Yeah. Going back to kind of the players there at the top, if we're just talking player of the year, I think it's kind of a two-man race right now. I think you can kind of work some other guys into the conversation, but it is between, I think, Donovan Tullock and John Wibbenmeyer at St. Vincent, who we got to see, very impressive, having a great senior season, and they're leading the conference. And I'm definitely not one of those guys who believes, just because it's the team that wins the conference, they should have, the best player on the best team kind of argument.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with that at all. And I might be a little bit biased to my former player, but it's funny because I go back to last year, and there were 13 or 14 out of 15 all-conference players were seniors. Mm-hmm. And Donovan did make all-district, but he kind of got, it was a numbers game, and he kind of got closed out. He started the year kind of slow, but finished last year kind of how he's picked up this year. And it was disappointing that he didn't get all-conference. I said, look, Donovan, here's the thing. Not only can you get all-conference next year, you could be the actual player of the year. And so
maybe he used that as motivation.
Right. He did. If you ever, he trains all day, every day. I know that's a cliche, but Donovan really does it. And he did use it as motivation. Trained very hard. I think I want to make a point a little bit later about trainers.
Yeah.
And train players that work hard in this area, but he's one of those guys. So those two at the top. I think Colby Ott, great player. We didn't mention Isaiah Bracey from Herculaneum, have a standout senior season, up and down a little bit in his career till now. I think he's a for sure first-team all-conference player this year on the JCA small side. And St. Pius, Chris Miller losing all that talent and then coming back and having the record they do. And I know they lost to St. Vincent the other night and probably kind of get shut out of the conference race, again this year. But he's done a great coaching job, and, he's got some players, whether Parson or some of the other guys who are having very fine seasons as well.
Parson and Rubel.
Nate Rubel, I think, is a good candidate to maybe be a first-teamer as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
just seems like it's a grinding out division. I mean,
It is.
every game is played, and it's
It
really is.
you going, okay, who's going to win? Well, who plays better? Who plays better defense? Who has less turnovers? I mean, it's crazy. Every game I've watched, I watched the R7 Crystal game the other night, and it was back and forth the entire game. It could have went either way. And I thought, holy smoke! If you're watching the small county schools play each other, there's really not a game that you're not interested in. You know.
It's good. It's good.
What was that game that we had? Was it Pius against Herky where you looked at the records and you're like, oh, I can tell you who's going to win, what's going to happen,
Right.
and then it got to the end and it wasn't what you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's Pius at like 13-3. Herky flipped the record, and just came to play that night and very motivated. And yeah, every time you gotta be motivated. You better get your sleep the night before. You better eat your Wheaties. And the coaches know each other so well. The players know each other so well. You can kind of throw it. If there's a 15-point point spread between the two teams, that really isn't the true measure of where that game may be going.
And all these kids play with a lot of pride, so that was really good to see.
Yep.
Right. If you were going to choose, we'll go down here, JCAA Player of the Year, who's it going to be? Scott?
Well, my three were between Tulloch, Wibbenmeyer, who, like I said, I've just heard gushing things about, and then also Bracy.
And Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson, I think you kind of have to, unfortunately, take him out of the equation based on what happened. But up to that point, I was like, he's got to be neck and neck.
Sure.
So those three guys, I got to go with Tulloch. I mean, excellent season. Used last year's motivation. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as knowledgeable on everybody. I've seen them. I've heard the names. I've watched them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Donovan just blew me away this year. I mean, I've watched several of his games, and he's scoring from everywhere.
Right.
Lots of different ways of disrupting their offenses. So, I mean, there's also a defensive side of things, too.
Very much.
And he's providing that, too. So he'd get my vote.
Yep, Donovan's a lockdown defender as well. Kind of gets overlooked in the explosiveness on offense. So you guys took it, took the monkey off my back there. I will definitely, I will cast my vote for Donovan Tulloch. But I will say Wibbenmeyer is a really good 1A. If they were like co-players of the year or something like that, that'd be cool.
Sure.
But I think those two, kind of separate a little bit from the other guys. But shout outs also to Bracy and Wilson, who in my mind are first teamers, and it'll be interesting to see who the coaches select, and also for that last spot. And then it's a younger crew, so a lot of these guys are coming back in the years to come,
Which is good for us. We get to see them again.
That's
No
right.
doubt.
That's right. Yeah, no disrespect to Wibbenmeyer at all. I give you a 1 and 1A because I mean, all you hear about down there is Wibbenmeyer, and but I mean, seeing from our point of view the last 2-3 years, I mean, Donovan Tulloch, we saw kind of just that evolving of the last year and a half. You want to take the beginning of last season, and he kind of got off on the wrong foot and has been able to turn it around. It really is kind of a cool story at how, just being able to kind of turn that thing around has just been a force this year. So I would definitely go with Tulloch as well.
And he believed it the whole time before it ever materialized or started to happen. I think that's the key component there.
There we go. Moving on to the last one here, our large schools. Festus 6-1, DeSoto 5-1, Windsor 2-3, Hillsborough 2-4, and Perryville 0-6. And again, we don't have very much stats on Perryville as well. I'll give you large school boys leaders right now. Windsor, Sonny Amabile, 19.9 points on the season. DeSoto, Aiden Blair, 15.3 points on the season. Festus, Armad Branch, 15.1 points on the season. Hillsborough, Noah Holland, 13.3 points on the season. And again, Perryville, we don't have stats for, but I really had great hopes here that, and it's no disrespect to the new coach over there at Windsor. Windsor looked really good on paper, even coming out of this, and they did come out early strong, but have found ways to not finish. So just want to kind of hear you guys' opinions on that, and we'll start with Scott.
Everyone you said on this list, and I would like to throw on Mertens as well.
Yep.
No doubt. Yep.
But
Brodinger, you could add them in there too.
Yep. And we could keep doing this. We could keep going, But
Right.
yeah, just kind of keep it on that. Windsor, Sonny Amabile is the bee's knees. He is the straw that stirs the drink, however you want to say that. On the defensive side, on the offensive side, he's like the Capozzo girl. You just always have to have your head on a swivel when you're on the court and there's a ball, because he is going to be buzzing around it.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm good friends with his mom, but I am. She works down at the Blue Owl.
She's awesome.
Amabile, but
Yes.
he has really put a lot on his shoulders this year. I don't know if that was personally plus the coach or just he himself, but he has done a lot. He's also still had a few hiccups with maybe keeping himself in check, emotionally. These are all young men, so I mean, nobody's a grown adult. They're not a man. They're not 40, as the guy said. But
Right.
Oh man.
right. But I mean, everyone on this is, and Sonny Amabile. I've seen Branch play a couple of times, and wow.
Yeah.
He's got 15.1 points average a game. He also is 10th in St. Louis in assists with 92, averaging 5.1 assists a game. So he's dishing. I've seen a little bit of Holland. I've seen a little bit of Blair. Actually, I haven't seen Blair. I'm sorry, but I've heard some. I've got some friends in the DeSoto district. They talk about Blair and they talk about Mertens a lot. But I mean, of these people on the list, I'm gonna say Sonny is probably my choice, just over and above everybody here. And I'd say Branch is right on his heels.
Well, if we can talk conference race, large school, real quick, and then
Yeah.
circle
do both.
back.
Do both. I don't care.
Circle back to the.
There's no wrong answers here.
So who are the two teams that are in contention?
Festus and DeSoto.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and Festus is 6-1, half a game ahead because DeSoto's 5-1, and Festus has a game with Windsor, big game with Windsor. I want to say Friday night, I
Yes.
believe, and then DeSoto plays Windsor and Hillsborough, and Hillsborough's played better in the later part of the year, and so it could end up if they both win out, they'll be co-champions. But Festus, big game again with Windsor, and this will be one of Sonny Amabile's last rides, and he'll be motivated after a couple of close losses to them this year. But down the line, of course, you got Hillsborough and help me out. I know Perryville's at the bottom. Hillsborough and who's the other big school?
Festus, Hillsborough, Windsor,
Yeah,
Perryville.
that's it. Festus, DeSoto, Hillsborough.
Okay.
Windsor.
That's five.
Yeah, DeSoto.
Yeah.
All right, so Hillsborough, look for them to be more of a force maybe next year. But great players, and just interested to see how this all shakes out. But Festus, great record, about 15-5, I think.
Have you ever guys? I mean, I'm sorry to butt in a second.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
for a Festus team, and I know a few of the players on that team,
Yeah.
but you're just not saying, okay, they've had some great players in the past, I guess, MVPs of the league and everything. They're well-rounded. I mean, they spread the ball out quite a bit. I mean, the Rickerman kid and Westhoff kid comes in there a little bit, and then you've got the guys underneath. That,
It's very guard heavy.
Yeah, it
And-
definitely is.
And a lot of three-point shooting, which, some nights they've died by it, but they have so many weapons, and Rickerman, Westhoff, Winehouse, and then, of course, they have Truck Davis.
Truck.
I think I'm taller than him, and I'm only 5'11", but he can jump basically to the top of the backboard and one hand a rebound.
You have
and
another senior
really fun to
that's
watch even on basketball court.
Been there that's kind of like the grit
I
guy
know what you're gonna
underneath.
say.
I can't
McDowell.
McDowell
Yeah.
and I'll think of it, but it just seems like they're just in there getting the gritty points for them. So, but
And they didn't even have DeMarion Anderson,
That's
a
right.
12-point-a-game
Right.
scorer
Right.
all year this year, and just think what they could have done had he been around. But they're having a great season anyway, and Coach Therrell's doing a great job there.
Who comes out of the JCAA large school boys? Scott.
Don't hate me, people. But I'm going to say Festus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that because DeSoto still has those games with Windsor and Hillsborough. Every game is just nip and tuck.
Yep.
And so, they use my words as motivation if you want, but I mean that it's going to be hard to win both of those here late in the season.
Right.
Everybody's fighting to get that last conference win, and at worst, I think Festus will maybe pull out a close win over Windsor and secure the conference championship on the large side.
Brian?
yeah, I mean that's my vote too. I think Festus can do it. It's just a matter of getting the job done.
Now, can you say that with that on your hat?
I can,
Okay.
because I live in Festus. My kids go to Crystal. I'm a Herky alum, so I'm a Jefferson County guy.
Yeah,
by
there
the
you
way,
go. Yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
I'm gonna toss it up. I'm gonna say DeSoto stuns them all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I just like being that guy tonight. So
It's
you
entirely
just never
possible.
know.
Yep.
It is possible, but
Kind of like a Royal
I
Rumble.
like-
Anything's possible.
yeah, I mean, I like what Blair brings to the table because he's kind of that unsung hero, and he's able to fish to a couple of guys, and somehow, some way, they've been able to handle. They've handled all three of these teams. So I mean, no disrespect to Perryville. Again, we haven't seen Perryville all that much, other than our game down at Perryville. But
They're getting better.
They are getting better.
They've gotten
They
better.
are getting better. I mean, I think they had to deal with COVID to start the season. So when you start with that, that's just such a hard hill to climb. But I'll just be that guy. No disrespect to Festus, and maybe it is maybe it will be kind of like you said, kind of a motivation for Festus.
Well, we balanced it out. And,
Right. So there you go.
Now, on the back to the player side of things, Scott mentioned, of course, Sonny as a definite surefire first-teamer, MVP candidate. You have Armad Branch, the young point guard from Festus, having a great sophomore year. And who are some of our other candidates? We say Blair, and you got to mention Mertens, and I think Zach Whaley from Hillsboro.
Yeah, we've got here Amabile, Blair, Branch, and Holland were our top
Scoring leaders. Yeah. Go to Branch. It's funny because I ran into him at McDonald's one day early in the season. I said, you know what, man, I love watching you play. I said, but you could be a 15-5-5-5 guy. And he kind of looked at me like he didn't know what I was talking about. I said, stat categories. 15 points, obviously, and then 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. And, you just tell somebody that thinking, and then he's almost averaging that. And if you think about it, those are mind-blowing numbers, and he's only a sophomore. And he missed 2 games, I think, last week, due to illness or whatever. And Festus pulled both those games out. But, I mean, just to think about how good he's going to be in the future.
Yep.
And so I want to go with him. We talk about player of the year. But
That's why I said it was Amabile and Branch.
Yeah. And I do think, talking about recruiting a little bit later, I think Armad Branch is a possible Division I prospect down the road. We'll see how he develops. But just one big point, I think, to all this. And Sonny, by the way, who, 4-year starter at point guard. Yeah. Just we've had the pleasure of watching him. Well, I didn't have the pleasure as a coach. I had to play him twice.
Yeah.
And that wasn't fun. And he even gave Donovan fits a little bit sometimes. But him and Donovan are real close. But that's kind of my point, is all these names that we've talked about at the top.
Colin Riando is who I was thinking about.
Riando.
Yeah.
He's gritty and dirt. He's right there.
We apologize, Coach Thero, because we've talked about him a lot. He does so much for them.
Sure.
And he's a great baseball
I was
player.
looking that up on my phone. My wife's giving me crap. I'm
like,
I got to know.
Sorry.
He's that Denby type player.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah.
He's on the floor more than
he's a little cleaner probably, but other than that. But to these names that we're all talking about, what I wanted to point out is this is no accident. This isn't because they have parents who are connected or one coach is more influential than the other. These kids train.
Yep.
And shout out to Dalen Parks at 34 Hoops, who's trained a lot of these guys.
We
in
are
this
right
area.
on the same thing. I was thinking it, and he said it. That's twice now that he's done that.
Yeah. me and Scott, man, I don't know.
Well,
I've only known you a couple weeks.
You've got Terry Edwards is watching. He just popped on here, and so I mean, Dalen, a part of the Grandview Eagles.
Yeah, it's no accident.
Group
He's
over there.
And go to Jordan Mertens, who I think is an MVP candidate on the large side. Mm-hmm. Donovan's worked with him before. Sonny has worked with him a lot, played for him a lot. So, and these guys, and there's other guys that they've trained with, such as Jacob Hedgecorth, kind of a little further south towards the middle area, and other guys around here. But the training, that's my point, is these guys have the work ethic and the desire, and they go out there every day and work hard. So it's no accident that these are the names that we're talking about tonight.
Right.
Yeah, you can
if
tell the
Coach
difference.
Edwards is on there, could you ask him if O'Brien ended up being okay?
Yeah. So we'll ask him that. And then Jason Therrell just popped on. Coach Jason Therrell over at Festus said, I just joined the conversation, but our team never forgets about Riendo. Glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up, Brian.
I'm mad at myself for forgetting it.
Yeah, well, and I should know
Sorry,
his name,
Coach.
but I'm terrible with names. And by the way, the Hillsboro girl I was thinking at was Maya LaPlante.
Maya
Senior.
LaPlante, yes.
And props to her because I've seen her for 4 years now, too. So
Heck of a player.
But it's tough on the spot because you're like, I know I'm forgetting somebody.
I didn't get to do homework like somebody. I got pulled into
I have some, but not enough.
We've got so many coaches that have jumped up here. Riley Blair just popped in as well, so he'll be up with us here in a little bit. We are going to actually do a coach's box. We kind of threw this together at the last minute 4 hours ago. Well, it wasn't even 4 hours ago. Said, hey, we're going to do a coach's box? Yes, we are. So we will have that at 8 o'clock. But we are going to take a quick step here real quick. And did we do our player of the game?
Officially player
on
of
our
the
way
year.
out, player of the game.
Player of the year.
Player of the year for the large schools, Brian Waits.
You guys I'm going to defer to these two experts right here.
Okay.
Because
I said I got to go Sonny, and then Branch is right there on his heels.
I concur, and
Sure.
the future is probably Armand Branch.
Okay.
Yeah, on that
I'll go
side.
Sonny as well. You know, Armand's the sophomore, and I'll give it to the senior because 19.9 points. That says enough for itself.
We'll see what the coaches do. That's
right.
That's just our unofficial opinion.
That is correct. And we are going to step out of here real quick. Step aside for just a quick second. You are watching the coaches. I said the coaches box. Main Street Sports. Before the coaches box, we'll have a coaches box at 8 o'clock. We'll be right back.
For fine Mexican cuisine,
A family atmosphere.
any place to watch your local sport teams. Come out to La Pechangas.
Check out our 4 locations: Arnold, Herculaneum, Crystal City, and Bonne Terre.
Come out to La Pechanga.
This live stream SDL has been a huge asset for Jefferson County sports, in my opinion. I mean, getting these athletes the camaraderie that they're out there and people can see them. I mean, to be honest with you, I got a call from a coach yesterday about one of my athletes that said that they saw some of her games on live stream SDL.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that right there instilled to me that this is important. You know, this is important for those kids. And so, you know, I think it's great, and I wish you guys the best. You know, and if you're out there and you want to sponsor, this is a great opportunity for you know, kids to support kids of our local kids and get them support and get them acknowledgement out there, because we have a lot of great athletes in this county.
We appreciate that. And at the end of the day, our mission is much the same as your missions, coaches, to help shine a light on these kids and get them exposure and get their name out there and help them. And if they can advance, they're better off, we're better off as a community, and that's why we're here.
I'm about to get teed up. What? I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to you. Are you kidding me? You're throwing me out of a summer league game? I'm not Riley Blair. I'm not going anywhere. Keep the free throws. Shoot the cops. Join us. Coach's Box, 7 p.m. live from Las Vegas. Tuesday night. See you there.
We hope you're enjoying tonight's presentation. Take advantage of the HD experience here with Livestream STL by going to the TKDS Sports Network app. Download the app and subscribe by going to videos.tkdssports.com. That'll get you access onto our TKDS Sports app, Roku, and Fire Stick. And thanks so much for your support of Livestream STL. And we are back for round 2 here of Main Street Sports. We're going to devote this particular segment here strictly to promote what I haven't even had a chance to read the thing yet, and I'm kind of excited about it because I think it's really needed, in this day and age, and it kind of rings home with me. So I'll preface it with this. When we first started doing Main Street Sports and the Coach's Box and things like that, I felt like it was very important to have something out here for the county to be able to relate from the coaches, kind of from a coach's angle, a parent's angle, and a player's angle. And I really, without even talking to Coach Richardson about the book as much, I really think this is something that I feel is going to be a huge asset in the upcoming years for especially parents and players that are thinking about moving on to college and doing that next level. I threw in the next level thing. But I think it'll be a huge plus and a huge help to help those parents and players are like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? What are the things I need to think about? So without further ado, I'm going to bring this over here to Scott. And Scott is going to kind of be the guy. Ooh, there he is. Look at him. He's kind of like Vanna White there. But,
Now how much would you pay?
Exactly. But, keep you're going to be kind of the question guy. And we're just going to kind of add some things as we go to maybe, help throw an extra little flavor, Brian and I. But I want you to kind of just drive this whole thing with Coach Richardson and how this book is going to be. I think it's going to be a game changer for this county.
All right.
Go ahead.
Lee, are you ready to play the feud?
I'm ready to go. The book or door number 2?
Right?
Choose carefully.
Yeah, I'll take the box. All right. So wanted to welcome everybody who's watching. We have local basketball coach turned author, Lee Richardson. Lee, thank you for taking some time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Livestream STL. Thank you.
For our viewers and people not familiar with our basketball community, can you give them your 45-second elevator speech?
Yeah, sure. Long story short, I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and after doing that and being an Army civilian for a number of years, I got all of my teaching degrees and credentials all lined up, and now I'm a 10-year veteran as a teacher and a coach of that side of things. And we live here in the area. We have a great family. I have a great wife, great kids. A first grandson arrived a little over a year ago. And so now I've stepped away from coaching, and we may talk about that a little bit, but it's just kind of been my passion my whole life, and I've been lucky to get to do it.
Okay. All right. So your tenure as a high school basketball coach came to an end last season. If not for the physical demands of the job, how much longer do you think you could have continued to coach?
Yeah, well, I wanted to coach, until I was 70, 80, whatever,
So another 40, 50 years?
Till they forced me out, yeah. But, I had some injuries and some things back related to my time in the service, and it was getting more painful every year, and some things, honestly, you know how it is when we're men, we ignore things a lot of the time, and you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and you're like, I don't have time to get that looked into and that kind of thing. And finally just got to the end of last season. It was kind of bad because I felt like I was kind of hitting my stride. I made a lot of mistakes as a young coach or younger coach. And so I just felt like, hey, I'm really starting to figure some things out and a lot more to learn. But so it was unfortunate. I didn't want to – we had worked hard and had a good team returning and a good foundation I thought we were building there at Crystal City. And so it was unfortunate. But other than that, this has given me time to really kind of relax, recoup, and get a lot of those things taken care of. And hopefully, it's in the cards maybe one day down the road.
To return?
Yeah, basketball and coaching is still a passion. I wouldn't say it'd be, next year or anything, but in the future, I definitely feel like I have some, good years left in me.
Okay, excellent. All right, so for inquiring minds who want to know, tell us a brief overview about your book, Next Level, a recruiting guide for high school basketball players, available on Amazon in paperback for $7.99 or on the Kindle for $2.99.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a fun little project. Again, having a little more time, and basketball season started, and I needed an outlet because, I was normally get real excited in October and November, and I love practices and everything that goes into building a team every year because it's a new thing every year. So I kind of needed a project, and this just kind of came to mind, and and I had some people who kind of supported and inspired me along the way. But the thing was, I just wanted to. There's so much unknown. There's a lot of mystery. There's an intimidation factor to the recruiting process. I said, I just want to put something, just a little booklet, a handbook, something that's really a quick hitting read that puts it all together, in a nice package that's very easy to understand and that people can apply the first day that they read the book. And that's what Next Level is. And it's not real long. And honestly, it's not real, deep, to be honest with you. A lot of people will read it and say, well, I knew that, and I think I knew that. But I wanted to put it all together in a way that people can read it and be like, okay, this really clears up a lot of things, and now we have a way to, a framework on which to base our recruiting journey going forward.
I started reading it today. I'm 20 pages in, and I'm a slow reader. And he talks about it's not that long. You don't want to sit there and have a volume that's going to sit on the shelf that's got the knowledge, but you're like, I don't have time to read 300 pages, and his book isn't, so it's very easily digested, right. And you can go back and refer to it easily.
Yeah, and there's those books out there, and they're 200, 300, 500 pages. How to get an athletic scholarship in college, and there's even some about specifically basketball. But I also wanted to have this kind of tailored to maybe the overlooked kid or the ones with limited resources. If you have a parent, if you have a lot of resources, if you're a great talent and you have attention, I think there's things in the book that'll help you. But I think it's kind of mainly more to that subset of, okay, we really need some help here in getting this ball rolling down the road. It doesn't have all the, step-by-step details that a 300-page book might have, but I do think it gives everybody a good start. And more than that, just kind of the mental attitude and the understanding of, okay, this is how we need to attack the process.
Okay. All right. So the book that you just published in December 2020, like I said, it's just 33, 34 pages. So it's not like you got to carve out weeks to read the material. Before we dive in and start touching on a few of your guiding principles, let me ask you, how long has this been in the works? Obviously, you got some free time, that normally you would dedicate to coaching. You start your program. So when did this kind of germinate in your mind a little bit?
Yeah, I think once I was able to, the dust had settled on that, and, I needed an outlet, and I thought, okay, I've been through the journey with two of my own kids. I've had a lot of players who've moved on and played in college, and I had a lot of notes, a lot of experiences, obviously, going to camps and interacting with college coaches and different things. And so, there just, came that time where I just said, okay, let's just put all this together. And I like to write. And creating the book, actually creating it using the software and all that was a little bit frustrating at times. And learned a lot in that process. But and I just put it all together in kind of a short period of time and had a lot of fun doing it.
Ah, cool. All right. So as we just mentioned, you were just published in December. Besides making this information available to the public via Amazon, what other avenues are you using to support your book launch?
Yeah, I didn't have
maybe live stream.
Live stream SEO. This
right now.
This is the extent. Right. Yeah. This was the plan the whole time. Ray just didn't know about it, but it worked.
Signed copies later.
All came together.
Yeah, I got you.
I didn't have this big business plan or strategy. It was just a fun thing to do. And I said, I'll publish it and I'll share it on, social media. And if, friends and family or they know a player, maybe to give it as a little gift or whatever. And, now it's I don't think I'm on my way to 1 million copies or anything, but it's kind of taking on a little bit of a life of its own and doing pretty good. I was subtle brag. I was like, Coach K was number 9, and I was number 10 in a certain category. it was probably one-day sales, Did you
screenshot that? See,
I did actually, and I shared it on Facebook.
Nice.
So I'll never be on a list with Red Auerbach and Mike Krzyzewski ever again. So I got to take advantage of that. But it put it all together, and here we are.
Some grassroots word of mouth.
Yeah, and also I have actually had a friend of mine, reach out to me, and he's going to help me build a little website, nothing too big, just to kind of have another outlet for the book and doing simple things to promote it through links and different things. And so, just to get the word out there, and hopefully it does well. But either way, it was just a fun project for me, and I hope it helps people.
Okay. Awesome.
I got a quick question for you. I noticed that you just added a new Twitter page. But it's not about the book necessarily.
That's right.
But I saw that today.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about why what that's all about with the Twitter page.
That is my shell company I've created. It's called Strategic Hoops. Is the Twitter page. I don't have hardly any followers on there yet. Ray, you might have been the first.
Hey,
thank you.
Number one.
You're welcome.
That's just as this goes forward. I don't know what this will turn into, but I just want to kind of have an umbrella to throw all this under. And when they had asked me for a publisher name for the book, and so I just thought, I don't know. There so many basketball names are taken. In fact, that the title of the book, Next Level, your friend Ben Elick has a basketball training
Next level basketball
group that's called Next Level, and that was totally coincidental. But there were no basketball books with this name, so that's kind of how I arrived at that. But anyway, Strategic Hoops, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, great.
Very cool.
All right, now let's jump into your book itself, Next Level. I think the title is smart and a perfect selling point for your program in the book, in essence. So how did you come up with the title, and how difficult or easy was the editing process? You kind of talked about the software, and what about like the cutting room floor?
Yeah, so kind of talked about the title. Honestly, I had a few different ideas, and when this hit me, I was like, oh no, that's the perfect name for the book, and I just like the simple orange and black cover and everything. But I looked around, and there weren't any basketball books with that title. And I said, that's perfect. We're going to go with that. And as to the writing itself was pretty easy. So like I said, I kind of had a lot of notes and just kind of off, my own experiences. It just kind of flowed once I had the chapters organized, it all flowed pretty well. But like I said, once you get into Kindle Create and some of those things, you want this sentence on that page, but when you do that, it changes something 2 pages later, and you're like, okay, I don't like that. So that probably took me twice as long as just actually writing the book.
Oh, okay.
But I learned a lot from it.
So, you're kind of giving some insight into the publishing process for anybody else who wants to follow in your footsteps.
Easier than you might think, I will say that.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
All right. I'll try not to give away too much for those who should want to buy the book, and anybody who has a student-athlete should want to read this book. But I was blown away by the top recruiting factor not being solely talent. I think that's a common misconception. People are like, you've got to be uber talented, you've got to be the star standout to even really consider this. But as an outsider of the process, I just always assumed that talent plays above all else, but not according to your book. Can you give a little coaching insight into this perspective?
Yeah, and I'll be happy to give it away, but to talk about talent, obviously you got to be really talented to play college basketball.
Yeah.
And these days it's proliferated so much to where even at the Division III or NAIA, wherever you're talking about, these are really, really talented basketball players. So if you don't have talent, it's going to be pretty hard. But it doesn't mean a less talented player, if they're willing to work really hard, can't make this dream happen also. So I actually think the most important thing, we know you got to have good grades to get into college and do college work and that kind of thing. And you got to perform. We just talked about a lot of players who were having a really good season. So you got to have that performance to even get noticed. But I think before all of that, if you don't have the character, the personal character necessary to put in that work, to fight through obstacles, to, get up at 6 a.m. to go work out and train, because in the summer you got to come home, shower, change, eat something, and go to your 10 o'clock job, and you just blow that off, day after day. If you don't have persistence, I think persistence is probably the most important mental skill in this whole thing. So, and that's all in Chapter 1. So I just kind of kick it all off with that, because I think maybe that's even a filter where, okay, I read all this stuff about character and all the hard work and all these kinds of things, and maybe they get to the end of that chapter and say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. And that's okay, because only 7% of high school players do go on to play in college.
Mm-hmm. That is staggering when I read that.
Only 7%. So you have to be very dedicated, but before all of that, you have to have great personal character that's going to carry you through something that you love to do, but is also going to be hard work a lot of the time.
Just saying that 7%, if you go back and look at the small schools and the large schools list that we were looking at, that's saying that 10 to 15 of those kids are going to go on to the next level from each one of those lists. That's just incredible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes kids just don't want to play at the next level or whatever, but sometimes they think they do. They get on campus, and however hard the work was in high school, it's times whatever factor you want to choose in college, and you have much harder classes. And guess what? You're also all on your own, and you don't have your parents there to kind of get you out of bed or pay for everything or feed you exactly when you need it. So
Or make you do it.
Make you do it. Just boil it down to that. It's a great way to put it.
I see Brian over there laughing.
Yeah, well, discipline and organization is huge.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of the theme of the book. I said I just wanted to have something to really help people organize their thoughts, and then going forward, their training to get this accomplished.
Okay. All right. So is your book for the student athlete or the parent or both? And who else do you think might benefit from the insights of your book?
Yeah, I wrote it to maybe a younger high school type player, but I think parents can benefit from the information. I definitely encourage them to read it. Like you say, maybe you're a slow reader, but I think average maybe 30 minutes to an hour you can read and digest this, and then maybe go back to it. But I think parents, I also think coaches, and I think coaches when they read it, and Coach Jarvis told me that he bought a copy, and I really appreciate that. But a coach like Coach Jarvis will read it and be like, okay, well, I know most of this stuff, but maybe it'll just help kind of organize their thoughts as well in terms of think, because coaches work 60 to 80 hours a week.
Right.
And they don't have a whole lot of time to, also then spend helping kids with a recruiting profile, which you hope a parent will help them do it. We know not everybody has that kind of support.
Right.
Okay, I got to help him with a recruiting profile. I got to take him to these elite camps, and I got to help him, write an email to a coach or tell him what to say in this text or what have you. So, I think coaches will also benefit from that.
Okay, good deal. All right, so for your current developing stars of local programs, along with the contributing role players, what mental adjustments, should they be ready to make when they jump to the next level in regards to their on-court regiments?
Oh, yeah, basketball's fun, but the fun comes at a price. And I would say the biggest adjustment they're going to have to make just in terms of on the court is, I don't like the word grind because, it should be fun. And we don't want to grind in terms of grinding a kid down because, hey, you got to get up and train 3 or 5 hours every day. And that's not healthy anyway. We need a lot of time for rest and recovery. But when it is time to train, you got to take it seriously. You got to mean business because, at the next level, it's definitely survival of the fittest. There's no, again, the college coach doesn't care if your parent, there's no board member to call if you're not getting playing time. There's none of that stuff going on. It's going to be you, but you got to approach it with a very serious mindset when you train and take it very seriously. If you take a day off mentally, yeah, you're there in the gym physically, but you're not there in spirit, and you make that a habit. I think that's the biggest adjustment that kids are going to have to make, especially as they get into their junior and senior year and preparing to try to play in college.
And I believe you touched that on your book. The physical side is one thing, but the mental side of it is so much bigger.
Yeah, 4-1. Bobby Knight said in basketball, the mental is the physical. It's 4-1, and I think it may be even more than that. So, yeah, it's a great point.
That's a pretty good reference right there when you say Bobby Knight. All right. So was there anyone inside your circle who kind of put a bug in your ear, so to speak, about making the book a reality?
Yeah, I guess I'll give credit. I'll give credit to two people. There's a lot. But my wife, first of all, who – I'm not teaching and coaching anymore, but I still got to work. Believe me, I'm married. But I think she was just like, this it's time for you to put these thoughts on paper because you have it in you, and so I really thank her and for that, and also a good coaching buddy of mine that I think the program knows, Justin Ford down at St. Paul Farmington.
He was watching earlier.
Okay, what's up, Coach Jay? He had me talk to his AAU team, the Missouri Kings. He had me talk to his kids back in the spring before I even knew how to work Zoom or anything. That was my first experience with that. And
trial by fire.
But I put a little slideshow together, and that's kind of where the idea of the 4 factors came in, of character, academics, performance, and exposure. And that's kind of where the seeds of the 4 factors and the chapters of the book came from. And so Coach Ford gave me that opportunity, and that got my wheels turning as well. I said, okay, we might be able to turn this into something.
Great. We should give a shout-out to them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Coach Ford, thank you.
All right. I know as a coach, with your years of experiences and connections you've made on and off the court, there have to have been a few players and teams that came to mind when you were composing the book. I'm not going to ask you to name any specific players, so not to accidentally slight anyone. But if you had the ability to take this book and step back in time, how many kids under your coaching and your peers do you think you possibly could have helped jump to the next level that maybe didn't?
Yeah, probably like a lot of coaches when I was younger and getting into it, I made a lot of mistakes. And, I definitely worked hard and had a lot of passion. But I really had no idea how to do a lot of this stuff, even though maybe I'd been through it much younger. But I don't know that, maybe it slighted anybody, but I probably just knowing more here in the last few years.
Well, I meant slighted, like I don't want you to run down a list of names and be like, I forgot so-and-so. I just meant that, who actually, would have benefited for this, the 4 pillars to possibly make that step that, maybe they had 3 of them but didn't get exposure or whatever to get to that.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of that happened earlier in my career. And about 5 years ago, actually, another thing that helped me probably write this book now, it's funny how you go back. Something that happened so many years ago can help you do something today or hurt you even on the other side of things. But I created a recruiting packet for my team at Lesterville with a lot of this information was kind of in there. And so that was maybe the turning point in terms of going from being, really a little, tone deaf on a lot of these things, or at least in terms of how to present it and help players, to now, as every year went by, I was able to just know more about it, learn more about it, and help them more.
Cool. So does it feel a little surreal that you're a published author?
See, yeah, when you see those, subgroup top sellers and some of those names on there, it's fleeting, I know, and I got to take, note of it now.
But it's a great moment.
It's fun. It's fun. I always thought that Ray was trying to get you there, but
no, Ray, you're number 1.
No. I did not do that.
Yeah, something I thought I always wanted to do, and something I know something about is basketball, man. I mean, I love the game, and so able to write about that and be published, pretty fun, pretty cool.
So can we expect a follow-up?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought actually.
And so I think even the next, if it's a workbook, will be even better. So start with this, go through it. I think it was a real easy read for me. Just the first few pages, I went, all right, I'm there.
Right.
So majority of the people out there, the vast majority is going to actually love it and need it. So,
I appreciate those words, Brian. Thank you.
All right, one more question before we let you go here. Lee is new to the live stream team. He has been invaluable behind the mic, providing insight and, helping me break down things. I know what I'm seeing, but he helps me understand it, and he helps our viewers see that. But I know this book is targeted at junior high and high school basketball players, boys and girls. But what about other sports that could basically take the same principles and overlay them for the same cause, just maybe in a different sport? What about that?
Yeah, I wanted a basketball recruiting book, and even if that limited the scope maybe somewhat, but I think probably 80-90% of the book applies to any other sport.
It could be soccer, it could be lacrosse, it could be baseball, it could be softball. It really, if you take basketball out of, if you do word replace throughout your book and take out basketball, it basically is a coaching 101.
Yeah, and I think the 4 factors, character, academics, performance, and exposure, if you're trying to get recruited to play baseball or football or anything, you're going to need those things.
Volleyball and hockey, any of that.
Yeah, and I think there's maybe even more kids, especially if you're talking about football or baseball, where, and you just don't know how to attack the process. I do think the book will help them as well.
Okay, great. Ray, we have anything to add?
I don't, but Brian,
we stumped him.
You
we
had
stumped
real
him.
quick? You did stump me a little bit here, But
a lot of people don't do things because, once again, and I've been in business 29 years, and it's because they go, well, I can get that anywhere. Well, sure you can, but you can't get it and from someone like Lee Richardson, who's put the hard work and effort and has experience. That's why I would buy this. I'm going to buy 20 of them and give out to the kids.
And it's basically Cliff Notes, because
that's
what we're
exactly
looking for.
Right.
We don't want to read the novel. We want the Cliff Notes.
It really
is basically what it is.
Right.
That's a great way of putting it. That's
it's
a great
a
way of
cheat
putting
sheet on how to do the right things and to set yourself up for success to go to that next level in college.
And I thank Brian for that. And I'll also put out there, if any coaches or anybody's listening, if you have a bulk order of any amount for your kids, talk to me and we'll order those and get you a special price on those. And if you want them signed, if you don't want the value to go down, I won't sign them. But
can you sign my Kindle?
Yeah, right.
Sure.
There you go.
Thanks for having me on, though, Ray. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks so much to you and Brian. Also appreciate Brian's insight. I mean, you've seen you're winding down with Annie here, but you got softball left, right?
One more season, yes.
One more season of softball,
yep.
And I'm sure we'll be out to cover a game or two for them as well.
I'm not going away. I love Jefferson County sports.
There it is. Awesome.
So do we.
Yep. And Scott, thanks so much again for hosting the whole thing. I know Jeff would have loved to have been here, but Jeff did pop in, and we're gonna let Jeff put in on his own his thoughts on today, especially the first part with all of his predictions on where things are, because his predictions are way different than ours.
I want to see his player predictions.
Yeah, right.
Jeff
There it is.
Yep.
So check it out. Next Level recruiting guide for high school basketball players on Amazon. We appreciate that, and we're going to wrap things up here. And again, 8 o'clock here tonight, we will be doing another episode of the Coach's Box.
Dun, dun,
and
dun.
so we'll have that as well. So for Ray Halbrook, all of us here at Livestream STL, we're going to say so long. We'll see you about 8 o'clock here for Main Street, or for Livestream, or for the Coach's Box. What is this? What is that? Oh, it is.
Livestream
Thanks for
STL.
watching Main Street Sports. Thanks.